Hi, my name's Max. I don't know why I'm feeling so shy. I've wanted to make this video for a long time. This isn't a normal thing for me. I really suck at talking to a camera, but I'm gonna try it just because there's some things I want to talk about and issues that have come since my condition is getting more visibility and people are seeming to understand more about it. There are a lot of generalizations out there and a lot of people claiming to have cures, have treatments, but everybody's still really developing their thoughts, and there's still a lot of research going on about it. Experiences with it are so incredibly vast that it's really kind of impossible to say that anyone has a cure or anything like that. Yeah, and my case is definitely one of those that's a bit of an outlier, and that comes with definitely a certain weight to bear, just in that I guess I'm one of the few unlucky people that have had it for this long. Whether I know it's going to be permanent, I have no clue, but I've had it for over 2 years now, and it's been a while. It's been a long ride, and I think that there's a certain stigma that comes with that. I think a lot of people might say, "Oh, it's your own fault for not getting better." You focus on the symptoms, you focus on everything, you cause your own suffering, and I've heard that sentiment a lot lately, and I just want to say that just isn't true and alienates a lot of people's experiences with the condition. Sure, it's a sentiment that you could tell someone that just got the condition, hey, don't worry about it, don't stress about it. But I think that there is a certain point where an individual gets where they are ready to move on, where they're growing as a person again, and they're ready to accept things, and I'm well past that point. I've accepted responsibility for my actions and everything, and it's been a long ride, but I still suffer every day from this. From the time I wake to the time I go to sleep, it's a constant barrage of symptoms, a lot of after images and flashing, specifically when I look at it becomes more apparent when I look at things in nature, like trees. It feels like they're flashing in and out of existence, just like at an incredibly fast rate, just because there are so many after images of everything I see. Anything that reflects light gets stuck in my vision. If I look at a light source, it can get stuck in my vision for up to 4 minutes. So I have it really bad. And some people don't, but a lot of people don't. But I think it's important to recognize that there's a lot of outliers with this condition, and to just make sure that you're valuing everybody's experience with it if you're going to engage with other people. Because there are people like me out there that aren't necessarily as vocal, probably because it's tough to sometimes function necessarily, especially in social settings. So I kind of want to start with how I got it and how I initially dealt with it. I was young, I was stupid, etc., etc. did a lot of drugs, but necessarily abusing them over a long period of time, not really. I experimented, tried a lot of different things, but I was never really addicted to anything. I took LSD, I think, 4 times, and shrooms once. And I believe ever since the first trip I had symptoms, but I wasn't fully conscious of them until, oh, they're really there, that moment, right? Now, do I know if it was legit LSD? I'm not really sure, honestly. I always assumed it was, but I'm not necessarily sure because I didn't have an experience with it before that. So I'll never know. But yeah, I got this condition, and then I tried to go through various ways to solve it, like lion's mane, doing Lamictal, doing a bunch of other things, and then I was prescribed Risperdal and what else? Wellbutrin and a ton of other antidepressants and stuff like that. None of them worked. In fact, I think they made it worse. During this time, I was really kind of out of it, just mentally. So I don't think I was really conscious of how it was necessarily affecting my symptoms, just because in the beginning it was really, really bad. Like, I would wake up and it would just suddenly be like this flood of flashing color, and it would like stun me for 10 minutes. I still get that, but it's not as intense. Yeah, so I think I just eventually came to the conclusion that, hey, none of this stuff is working. I think I'm just going to go out on my own and try to solve it a little bit naturally, my own anxieties and problems. What I found, especially after COVID and just being alone, was that I really do like being alone, and I definitely have an anxiety around people that I don't know. And I think a lot of that comfortability has really helped me. I like being alone in my own space. I live alone now in my dorm room for now, and it's honestly such a blessing. I'm not forced to hang out with people and do all that. I think that just in general was a big push in my life to take extreme measures and stuff like that. So that's pretty much how I dealt with it. I wasn't really good, and I think just antidepressants aren't for everybody. Zoloft, Prozac, Wellbutrin, I tried all of these, and none of them really worked in the sense that I didn't feel motivated to accomplish my goals really when I was on them. Of course, I think they dulled me out a little bit, especially with taking like Lamictal and stuff like that. I also took a few other ones that I won't mention. I think Risperdal really made it worse, and that's also been reported by some claims. Some people say that it makes them better, some people say that it makes it worse. Well, why ever take that risk? It definitely made my visuals a lot worse. So my next point on my list was misinformation and conviction that one experience is the only one. I've seen a couple of these videos maybe like a year ago. There weren't as many as there are now. But a lot of people kind of saying, here's how you cure it, or here's how you get better or better yourself. Really, these words don't mean anything to most people who don't have like a support system to help them through it. They're just passing sentiments that will eventually just be overrun in somebody's mind by other general worries and anxieties about life. It's not really, there's nothing that anybody's going to tell you that's going to really help you. I'd suggest seeing a therapist, but I haven't, had the best experiences with those in the past. Maybe I've just been seeing the wrong ones. It's very possible, but I'd say just be open to change. I think I'm very flexible with my views in a way that I have, my moral values are very kind of set in stone, but on top of that, the experiences I collect and stuff like that are very malleable. And I think just the conviction that your experience is the only one is something that's really toxic. And you can bring a lot of misinformation to a lot of things. I always put a caveat when I tell people, this is just my experience, and that's it. You might not have the same recovery process. I'm still going through this every day. So yeah, the visibility of HPPD on the public. I thought that more visibility would bring more support, but it almost feels like the opposite. There's been a huge push by the psychedelic community, I think, to silence a lot of this, and it's really saddening to hear that. Honestly, I think that even if it's a minority of people, a very small minority that go through this, it's awful. It's really awful, and it's something that happens to people, especially who have been suffering for a long time through other means and paths. I think that it's such an awful thing, and there's a lot of minimizing that a lot of people do about it, mainly because there's a big hippie community in a way that is very about like the loss of the ego and the loss of the self, and very holistic in that way. But I think what's important to understand is there is a reason we have an ego, there is a reason we have a self, and when you completely let that go, it's a very scary thing. And I think that not everybody needs that. I think a lot of people probably need to design and create a better sense of self. So when a lot of people say that to me about like, losing your ego or stuff like that, that's so radical in a Western sense. I think a lot of people critique our sense of individualism, but I think to an extent everybody has to have their own experience, and to be really in the chaos of the world and to navigate it, you have to have a sense of personality. You have to have a unique sense of self. And yeah, I'd say just the ultimate thing that I could impart onto you is to create that sense of self, and to experience things alone and truly try to connect with them. Because in a lot of ways, I think I just never created that sense of self. I was always kind of like an amalgamation of everything around me, and I think that definitely contributed to my difficulties I've had. But after being alone for some time, I've realized that creating that sense of self is so important, and I think it's something that certain individuals just really need, and need to not be afraid of being themselves and wearing their experience on their sleeve and stuff like that. But a lot of people are sheep, unfortunately, and never have really gone through that or gone through troubles with identity and real like existential stuff. I had this moment a few years ago when I woke up and I told my friend I can't remember who I am. That depersonalization that comes with this is probably the worst part. And there's a bunch of brain science that I've done a little bit of research on behind it, on why it happens, and it's all very interesting. But really, we just have to move on and build a better sense of self, and that will help us realize our place in the world. And I still struggle with it every day, but that's the only advice I could give to someone. There isn't, a don't focus on your symptoms thing, because a lot of us have it to an extreme where, I close my eyes and it's still there. I try to read a book and the words move and they flash at me, It's, it can get really bad for a lot of us. So that's my advice. I just made this because I've seen a lot of negativity about this recently, just because of the extra visibility, and it doesn't seem like the helpful and supportive community of a couple of years ago still exists. A lot of people have moved on and or recovered. And I think it's unfortunate, but I hope that eventually things will get better and these new studies will get published, and the eventual overwhelming evidence about the different experiences of different people will eventually help us, us long-term sufferers. But for now, that's really all I can offer you. So thanks.